Have you ever woken up, looked in the mirror, and felt a strange, silent ache that there's so much more to you than what the world sees, or what you let yourself become? Picture this. It's a Monday morning. The alarm goes off, just like yesterday, just like 1,000 days before. You scroll through your phone, half awake, half dreaming. Maybe you catch a glimpse of someone on social media, someone who seems alive, driven, full of a passion that almost feels alien. Meanwhile, you sigh, drag yourself out of bed, and wonder, is this all there is for me? Does this sound familiar? The slow erosion of your dreams, the quiet surrender to routines, that gnawing suspicion that somehow you've settled for a smaller life than the one you were born to live. You're not alone. In fact, this is the silent epidemic of our age, the disease of the last man, as Friedrich Nietzsche called it, a comfortable, risk-averse, passionless existence where you trade your greatness for safety and your longing for convenience. But what if that ache inside you is a message, a call to awaken a force within yourself that you barely dare to imagine? What if you could become not just more productive or more successful, but something greater, a creator, a self-transcender, someone who leaves mediocrity behind and steps into your true, unrepeatable power? Today, we're diving into one of the most misunderstood, electrifying, and potentially life-changing ideas in all of philosophy, Nietzsche's Übermensch. This isn't about superheroes. It's about unlocking your hidden greatness, about refusing to live and die as just another person. We'll unpack the difference between the Übermensch and the last man, why mediocrity is so seductive, and most importantly, how you can begin your own journey toward greatness, starting now. If you're ready to challenge your story, to reclaim your power, and to see yourself as Nietzsche dared to see humanity, keep watching. Let's begin. Let's start with a difficult question. Are you living your own story, or just following a script handed to you by others? Nietzsche warns us about the last man, a type of person who has given up striving, who only wants comfort, who avoids pain, risk, and meaning. The last man is everywhere today. He's the person who, above all, wants an easy life, who would rather be entertained than challenged, who trades adventure for security, growth for certainty, depth for distraction. But why does Nietzsche see this as a problem? Because deep down, you are not made to be just a passive spectator in your own existence. There's a part of you that remembers maybe only faintly what it's like to want more, to hunger for meaning, to dare something great, even if it means risk, even if it means struggle. The last man, Nietzsche says, is the one who blinks. He avoids pain, but also avoids joy. He avoids tragedy, but also avoids greatness. Let's be honest, don't you sometimes feel that tension in yourself? You want to change, to grow, to create, to love deeply. But the world makes it so easy, so seductive, to just settle, to let days slip by, to numb yourself with scrolling, shows, shallow goals. It's safer. But isn't safety just another word for stagnation? So what does this mean for you? Ask yourself. Where in your life have you become the last man, too afraid of discomfort to change? What dreams have you shelved for later that never seems to come? When was the last time you did something that scared you, not for the sake of thrill, but because it mattered to your soul? Nietzsche's challenge isn't just philosophical, it's deeply personal. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to become. So far, We've uncovered the hidden cost of mediocrity, the silent pain of living someone else's life. But what's the alternative? If you reject the last man, what are you called to become? Nietzsche introduces the Übermensch, often translated as Overman or Superman, not as a superhero, but as the next evolutionary step in human potential. But what is the Übermensch, really? Let's break it down. Übermensch literally means overhuman or beyond human. This isn't about muscles, fame, or even genius. It's about a new way of being a person who creates their own values, who shapes their life as an artist, shapes a masterpiece, who faces suffering and turns it into meaning. Nietzsche says, "Man is a rope, tied between beast and Übermensch, a rope over an abyss." What does this mean? It means you are not a finished product. You are a bridge, a crossing point between what you have been and what you could become. But here's the catch. The journey to becoming the Übermensch doesn't begin in comfort. It begins in crisis. In the moment when the old answers no longer work, when the meaning given to you by society, family, religion, or even your past self falls apart. You might recognize this moment. The breakup that shattered your world. The job loss that made you question your worth. The existential dread at 2 a.m. when you wonder, what's the point? Nietzsche says, good. Because from the ashes of your old self, you can begin to create, not copy, but create your own life, your own meaning. So what does this mean for you? Have you been taught to avoid crisis, to run from discomfort? What if, instead, you saw your struggles as the birthplace of transformation? What if every ending in your life is actually the start of becoming someone new? The Übermensch isn't a distant ideal. It's the name for the part of you that dares to become more than your circumstances, to rise above the ruins of your old stories. We've seen how comfort breeds the last man, and how crisis gives birth to the Übermensch. But what does this transformation actually look like in practice? How do you begin to cross the bridge in your own life? One of Nietzsche's most famous and challenging calls is this: remain true to the earth. But what does that mean? In simple terms, stop waiting for some otherworldly salvation. Stop living for someday. Stop believing that meaning comes from outside of your lived, embodied experience. The Übermensch is not someone who escapes life, but someone who embraces it, all of it, the pain, the pleasure, the mess, the possibility. Think about it. How many times have you put off living for when things are better, when I have more time, when I'm more confident? How often do you tell yourself, real life starts after I achieve X or Y? But Nietzsche says, no. Your greatness is not waiting in some far-off heaven. It's here, now, in the raw, unfiltered reality of your life. Let's make this real. Imagine you're facing a setback, a failed relationship, a business loss, a health crisis. The old story says, this is bad. This shouldn't happen. Maybe I'll be happy later. But the Übermensch asks, what can I create from this? How can I use even this pain as fuel for my transformation? Remaining true to the earth means facing life's tragedies and beauty without denial, without running away. So why does this matter to you right now? Because every time you refuse to numb out or escape, you gain power. Because every day you treat as your real life flawed, unfinished, beautiful is a day you become more than you were yesterday. Stop waiting to live. Use what is right in front of you as the clay for your own creation. Now, we've uncovered the radical call to embrace life, not as it should be, but as it is. But Nietzsche goes further. He asks us not only to accept our reality, but to become its author. If you've ever wondered what it means to be authentic, Nietzsche takes the idea further. He says, "Become who you are." This isn't a call to discover a hidden self buried under layers of society. It's a challenge to create yourself, moment by moment. Imagine life as a block of marble. Most people let others chisel away at them: parents, teachers, culture, their own fears, until what's left is a safe, familiar statue. But the Übermensch picks up the chisel themselves. They ask, "What do I truly value? What do I want to stand for, even if it costs me approval? How do I turn every experience, good or bad, into something uniquely mine?" This is not easy. It means risking rejection. It means making mistakes, changing course, beginning again. But what's the alternative? To remain a half-finished copy of someone else's idea. Suppose you've always done what was expected, chosen the safe job, hidden your deepest passions, followed the crowd. But then one day, you realize you're living on autopilot. You feel numb. At that moment, you have a choice. Keep pretending, or take the terrifying step of asking, "What do I really want?" Maybe it means starting a new project. Maybe it means having a difficult conversation. Maybe it just means saying yes to your own curiosity and no to one more day of sameness. How could you use this insight? Start by noticing where you feel most alive and where you feel most deadened. Ask yourself, what if I gave myself permission to reinvent even one small part of my life today? What's one thing you would do differently if you weren't trying to please anyone but yourself? You are not a victim of your past, your habits, or your culture. You are the artist of your own existence. So far, we've explored the journey from the last man to the Übermensch, rejecting comfort, embracing crisis, living in the here and now, and creating yourself anew. But there's one more piece of mindset that transforms everything, even your pain. Nietzsche gives us a final tool, one that might sound impossible at first. He calls it amor fati, which means love of fate. This isn't just acceptance. It's the art of saying yes to everything in your life. Every joy, every heartbreak, every mistake as something you choose, something you use. Imagine you've failed spectacularly at work, in love, in your health. Most people would say, "I wish this hadn't happened." But Nietzsche's Übermensch says, "I will make this part of my story. I will use even this to become more than I was." Think of it like this. Life hands you a raw deal. You can complain, you can blame, or you can become the alchemist of your own experience, turning even suffering into strength, wisdom, even beauty. Amor fati doesn't mean you have to like everything that happens. It means you choose to use everything. So, why is this important for you? Because every time you refuse to play the victim, you reclaim your power. Because every time you say yes to your own life, you become less afraid and more alive. Greatness is not just what you do when things go well, it's how you respond when things fall apart. Let's zoom out now. We've explored how to move from numb comfort to passionate creation, from avoidance to acceptance, from fate as an enemy to fate as your own chosen path. So, what's the point of all this? Why should you care about Nietzsche, the Übermensch, or the danger of becoming the last man? Because your life is happening right now. Not in some hypothetical future, not in someone else's fantasy. And every day you have a choice: to sleepwalk through existence, or to wake up to your own possibility. Nietzsche's message is not just for philosophers. It's for anyone who has ever felt the pain of settling for less than they are. For anyone who has ever wondered, is this all I am? The world will always try to convince you to play it safe, to fit in, to avoid trouble. But in the end, what you regret most won't be your risks, your failures, or your heartbreaks. It will be the times you said no to your own greatness. So, the real question is, what will you do with the one wild, unrepeatable life you have? Let's recap the journey we've taken together today. First, we faced the pain of the last man, how comfort and routine can lull you into mediocrity, how you can wake up one day and wonder what happened to your dreams. Then we met the Übermensch, not a superhuman, but the next step in human evolution, the one who uses crisis to awaken, who dares to become more than their circumstances. We saw why Nietzsche insists you remain true to the earth, to live here and now, to use this life, not wait for some otherworldly rescue. We explored the art of radical self-creation, become who you are, to pick up the chisel and carve your own destiny, rather than letting others decide who you'll be. Finally, we embraced amor fati, the love of fate as the ultimate tool for transformation. Not just accepting, but using everything, even your pain, as the material for your greatness. What's the main takeaway? You are not stuck with the life you inherited. You can use your pain, your setbacks, your longing for something more to begin again. Right now. You have the power to become the author of your story. So, here's my challenge to you. Today, choose one area of your life, just one where you've been living as the last man. Ask yourself, what would I do here if I was becoming the Übermensch of my own story? Write it down. Take a small, bold action. Notice how even the smallest step towards your own greatness can change everything. You have one life. You are the only you who will ever exist. Don't die with your music still in you. If this video sparked something in you, an ache, a question, a burst of hope, let me know in the comments. How will you use Nietzsche's ideas to create your own life? Starting today. Subscribe to MindMirror for more deep dives into philosophy and psychology that are not just for thinking, but for living. And if you're ready for the next step, watch our upcoming video, How to Face the Void and Find Meaning Anyway, Nietzsche's Eternal Recurrence Explained. Until next time, stay courageous, stay awake, and keep becoming. The ideas explored in this video are for philosophical and psychological exploration and are not intended as professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own critical thinking and further research, and to consult with qualified professionals for personal concerns.